You are listening to
Hello, everybody, and welcome to viewers. This is episode 605. I'm your host, Tricky Rick. Alongside me, the man, the myth, the legend, the only one with me, Alex.
New microphone. Who dis? So, Tricky, since it's just you and me, I want to start off by saying, listeners, Tricky and I got our wires crossed a little earlier, and I was trying to do something good because I know Tricky hasn't gotten a lot of sleep. Matt's not here this week, so I'm like, I'm going to put together an agenda so Tricky didn't have to worry about it. And so, we don't show up like 5 minutes before recording with our pants down and not have an agenda. And then after I finish the agenda, painstakingly put all that effort in, I get a call like 5 minutes later from Tricky, and I'm like, you better not be calling me to ask me why I made an agenda since you already I didn't know you made one. But I hope you know my heart was in the right place because I figured you would sleep and I would just take care of the agenda.
It was, but the problem is my landlord decided on the last 2 days.
What a piece of trash.
To start doing like some heavy construction on the apartment upstairs. So he's been beating and banging, and basically sounding like he's going to come through my freaking ceiling.
Yeah, he is.
2 days. I sent a sound to the guys in our group chat. It's like I just don't. I know he has the right to do it, and it's not an obscene hour. But being that I work nights, nobody should start construction at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. Period. But I had literally just gotten home from working a 14-hour shift, crawled into bed, and then he started. I
have to ask Tricky. I assume that your landlord, when the landlord's going to start work on an apartment, whether it's yours or not, they have to give you a heads up to say, hey, we're going to be doing construction work around the apartment complex. I would assume they have to tell you that.
Well, it's not an apartment complex. It's a house. It's a 2-family house.
Okay.
So, no, the answer is no. They don't have to inform you. They just have to do it within reasonable hours. Now, if he wanted to come into my apartment, he has to give me 24 hours notice. But he wasn't coming into my apartment. So, therefore, he didn't have to.
Give you 24 hours notice so you can put all the embarrassing game paraphernalia you have, put all the open cans of Spam away, throw them away.
Yeah. Oh, my God. He started this morning, but luckily today was my first day off in 2 weeks. No. Yeah, 2 weeks.
Are you glad that you live in New York now?
Oh, great. The amount of money I made last week, amount of overtime, it's nice, but it's just like, I need some rest.
Here's the thing, though. The money is not nice right now if you get to use it and enjoy it, and you eventually, stop working every day for 14 hours. But also, your sleep schedule is not conducive to a healthy lifestyle. So if you say cut 20 years off your life because you work shitty hours, I don't care how much money you make, you're not going to be able to use it.
You're right.
But luckily you're close enough to retirement that hopefully you can get all that ironed out before,
Yeah.
Before sleep deprivation becomes a real problem.
Yeah. I'm a little thrown off right now because I'm still trying to update everything with the Twitch because apparently I forgot to do that earlier. So I'm making changes as we go.
Unfortunately, we don't have Matt this week because Matt and V are on vacation. Also, we are without Yield because apparently his internet is on the fritz. So, it's just us tonight. I'm glad Tricky was probably thinking about. He even told me thinking about bowing out, and I guarantee. I've heard people do one-person podcasts before, but I guarantee that no one wants to sit here and listen to me ramble for 2 hours. So, I'm glad you showed up.
Oh, I'm glad I showed up too, but it's like I'd really rather be sleeping right now. I gotta be honest with you.
Well, look at it this way: there's no easier edit than a 2-person podcast that people actually want to listen to.
You say that, and then I'm gonna get on the edit report. It's gonna be like, what the hell?
Nah, man, I told you, new microphone. I'm running strong.
Yeah. How many, with our luck, how many times is it like we used a new piece of equipment and something went wrong?
I mean, possibly, but there's not going to be, there shouldn't be much slowdown with Skype because it's just you and I. So it's not like we got a bunch of people gumming up the works.
Well, I mean, it's also the fact that we also had a guest scheduled, and the guest's internet decided to not work because they upgraded. So.
Well, Andy's just trying to live his best life.
Andy is definitely, and I mean, I'm showing up. I'm not even wearing a shirt. I'm wearing thermals right now. So.
Well,
how prepared I am.
We can all be. Wait, are we running live on Twitch?
Yes, we are live on Twitch.
Well, I hope your picture's not up.
It is.
All right. Well,
I'm looking sexy as hell right now.
We would like to apologize. Proven Gamer would like to take the time to apologize for Tricky Mick's dress. He's not in dress code.
I mean, I'm decent. It's not like I'm not decent. It's just what was I saying? I don't know. All right. Alex, this show's going to be like all over the rails. Just letting you know. Let's do our updated trophy count. I am level 899. Total trophies of 29,786 with 825 platinums. You are what?
Level 501. Total trophy count of 9,687 and a platinum count of 166 in 165 games.
Yield is level 505. Hey. Maybe you should get a job with the studio. 505 Games.
Are they still around?
Yeah.
No.
They're the ones that put out, was it 505? Aren't they the ones that put out Alan Wake 2?
That's Remedy, bro.
That's the developer. I thought the publisher was 505 Games.
Is Remedy not their own publisher? Oh, and I'll look that up. Maybe I was confusing them with 989. Which, I mean, did all the sports games back in the day.
Yeah.
I thought that 505 had been around for a while.
Yeah, I'm on 505 Games right now, but the site's taking a little to load. Oh, wow, that's loading up. 9,948 trophies with 181 plats. Matt is level 220 with 1,309 trophies with 0 plats. And Sid is level 883 with total trophies of 26,491. And 828 plats. He's going to have to lead on me for a while.
Oh, hey, well, yeah, I mean, we all could have guessed that, but Epic published Alan Wake 2. Remember, because it was the only digital, and maybe there was hope somebody would pick up a physical release, but no, Epic is the one who published it.
Okay, well, I know 505 Games put out Control, so I just thought it was part. They just continued.
It's a logical leap. It would make sense, but more on Epic Games later.
Yeah. All right. So, what are you playing, Alex?
Well, I played some Rocket League with Nitro and Yield on Thursday. Had a good night of games with them, so thanks for joining me, fellas. And mostly I am making my third romp through Evil West. I actually was hoping I could get the Platinum Trophy before I came on here, but I literally have to go through one more level and get one more collectible, and I've got the Platinum. Beat the game on Evil, so beat the hardest difficulty, and now I'm just playing through on Story to clean up collectibles. One trophy away from the Platinum. I really like that game quite a bit. So, if you've like, as far as like, I said in the first time I talked about it, kind of like a linear style game, kind of like BioShock, where you have little like nooks and crannies you can explore, but for the most part, it's pretty linear. And then also like as far as like the camera's perspective and the character movement, a lot of feels like towards the 2018 and Ragnarok God of War, and even the way that Jesse Rentier, the main character, punches chests. I'm noticing a lot of that now after Kratos started punching chests. Like a lot of copycats in that regard. And then finally, just kind of a more full-bodied Order 1886. I mean, they are. I'm not saying one's a copy of the other. Or that Evil West is a copy of Order 1886 because very different style games. One set in Victorian era London, the other one set in the Wild West. So I'm not saying like they're carbon copies of each other, but just the style of a shooter, fighting creatures of the night, vampires, werewolves, all that kind of stuff. So I did enjoy Order 1886, and I will not let people shit on that game, but I will say this is a more full-fledged game because there's just more to the bones there. There's more gameplay to it. Good, solid brawler slash shooter. So had a lot of fun with Evil West. I will say I did notice some disparity in the trophy difficulty ratings for this because I think Power PYX had a 6.5 out of 10, whereas was it PlayStationTrophies.org or PSN Profiles? One of them had it as a 2 out of 10. I think both are wrong. It's more somewhere in the middle for the most part. And like I said, you can play New Game Plus with all of your upgrades, and you can go to evil difficulty. So you can play on the hardest difficulty with all the upgrades you played through once. So I would recommend playing the game on story, enjoy the story, get to know the mechanics, and then go on towards evil, and you should be fine with all your upgrades. It doesn't really start to get sticky until the last 3 chapters where there's a couple boss fights, which thankfully are checkpointed. So you get 2 checkpoints in the boss fight. So you eventually can grind out a win. And then just one big gunfight outside the bank in the 15th chapter, the heist. If you ever play it, you'll see what I'm talking about. But yeah, the final boss of the game kind of annoying on evil difficulty, just because it takes so long to beat her, and some of her slam attacks with the area that it covers and how fast you move can be difficult to dodge. But over time, you get better dodging. You get you find the cues. You just get better fighting her. So. But yeah, it takes a long time to kill her because most of your attacks do very little damage on her. But it's a grind. But again, 2 checkpoints, you should be able to go through it. So if you've seen higher difficulties for the game, don't let that scare you. You can get through it, and it is a fun game. So I would highly recommend it to everybody.
All right. Sorry. Oh,
Tricky.
Yes.
Let me introduce you, sir. You little foggy brain, but that's fine. What have you been playing this week? Well, not much of anything, I guess.
No, I haven't played anything.
I feel like a douche asking you that. What have you been playing, Tricky? Not fuck of anything.
The only thing I played for a couple hours today, on and off, was The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered.
Ugh, don't get me started.
Listen, I was thinking about this while I was at work, and I had many hours to think about this. I get why people are saying that this shouldn't have been remastered. But the fact of the matter is, it got remastered. And it's absolutely fucking beautiful, Alex. I swear it's fucking beautiful.
I mean, I believe you. I saw comparison screenshots. I mean, it looks better. Does it look worlds better? No, but it's a remaster, not a remake. So, there is that. But I mean, we'll talk. We have a larger discussion about this for our topic of the week. But I'm sure you thought I was trolling you on Friday night when I was, like Rat Plaid or like all that kind of stuff.
Nah.
And to be honest, I do have some growing animosity towards this game because of how, not necessarily because of the game itself, but because of how Sony has managed Naughty Dog. But again, there's a larger topic later on. We can get into it there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the point that I was going to make is. The remake is good in the fact that if it's out, if you own the game already, it's only $10 for this, which is cool.
And I do. It is a remaster, not a remake, because remakes are built from the ground up, whereas a remaster they just kind of go add a few things. It's not, from what I understand, built from the ground up. So
it's not. Well, it can't be built from the ground up because it's literally the same game.
Yes. So, but a remake is built. They have, of course, the map, the blueprint to make the game, but they start from scratch.
Yeah, well,
but that's not what they did here. So I just want to discern between remaster and remake.
Yeah, well, they did add the no return mode, which is pretty cool. They do have other features of it, but it's beautiful. And if you've never played this game, I mean, this is definitely the version you want to buy. So I mean, I get people saying it should have been remastered. I'm not hating on it as much as others would be because, one, obviously you guys know I love the Last of Us series, and two, for me it was $10, so it was an easy thing. But I was a little disappointed on the fact that you could just auto pop the trophies.
Yeah, that seems like an oversight by Naughty Dog because obviously Sony seemingly wants to make trophies legit or seem legit in the eyes of the community. And again, trophies are up, it's kind of just, it's up to you how important they are. Do they mean anything in the long run? Well, no, but maybe they're personally important to you. So it's kind of each on a case-by-case basis with each person. But just being able to import your save and pop all the trophies immediately, that just kind of seems like, I realize if Sony sells you the game, they've made their money, but do they really want people auto-popping trophies on one of their, most beloved games, or one of the most highly rated games. I mean, granted, not that it's hard to get the Platinum Trophy and Rift Apart, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, but still, like, you can't auto-pop those.
No. Well, they didn't have a 4 version of that game either, so.
Well, no, I know. But, again, I wonder if it's an oversight by Naughty Dog, or if they intended to do that. Maybe, I don't know, who knows, pump up sales. Like, we need to get sales up, so once people learn you can auto-pop trophies, just get that extra $10 in there.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you have no interest in playing The Last of Us at all, I totally understand. But if you've never played this game, this is the version you want to buy. And if you have this game already, it's only $10. Like,
I'll tell you what. One big gripe I have against this game is that by the halfway point, I was ready to be done. And I was forced to play through a second half of a game that I honestly didn't want to play through anymore. Yeah. I feel like the game is exhausting, and then it like doubles the play time, and it's just like, oh my God, are you serious? Maybe it's just me.
Yeah, and I'm actually going through the game now with the permadeath on. The pop a trophy that I never popped on the original version, so yeah. Yeah,
just upload your save file to the cloud and play on easy.
You can't do that.
You can't do what?
Okay, so there's 2 different permadeath settings. There's the one I'm playing with is on chapter. So if I die, I just go back to the start of the chapter, which you could lose anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes of gameplay. There's another one where it brings you all the way back to the beginning of the game.
Yeah, that's what we call the fuck that mode.
Yeah.
Because with all the modern convenience and technologies we have, checkpoints and save files are nice, and I don't want to play. I don't care how much I like a game. I don't want to sit here and play a game for like 12 hours and have my progress completely fucking erased because of permadeath. You know what? There are people out there that are probably masochists that like that kind of shit, which is why Sony put that in there. But fuck that.
But the trophy is complete the story on any permadeath setting, so I use the easier one.
But you can still upload to the cloud, can't you? And just pull it from the cloud if you die?
Yes, but when you have the permadeath setting on, you can't do manual saves. So I can't. Okay, so I'm going to say this with not giving away a lot of details. But when you fight the biggest infected in the hospital later in the game, you can't save right before that fight. And then uploads because saving is disabled. So if I do that fight, depending on when the chapter starts, I may have to do that entire chapter just to go back to that one fight.
You're talking about the Rat King, right?
Yeah, I was trying to be vague.
Well, Tricky, if you've already played it, you know, and that name itself doesn't give you any indication of what the boss is.
True.
So it's not like the Rat King from Ninja Turtles pops out and it's like, here we go, motherfuckers.
So I'm doing that. And I'm not auto popping the trophies because I have the extra life thing where I have to get legit plats, and I feel if I auto pop this, it's not a legit plat, so I'm not going to do that. Plus, I want to play the game anyway.
Well, hopefully you enjoy it again, because I just can't play that game. I don't even know if I want to watch they started announcing the new actors that they're bringing on for season 2 of the HBO show. I don't even know if I want to watch the second season of the HBO show.
I think with the show, what they're going to do is going to split how the game is split in half. I think they're going to split the first half, put the first half on season 2, and then do season 3 in the second half.
Yeah, but also there's a very specific reason that I don't want to watch it, and you know what that is.
Yes.
And that would be in the second season, and it's like, well, I guess because Neil Druckmann is not going to change his mind on things. He's going to. I had kind of hoped, like, when you watch The Lion King and you hope certain things change the next time you watch it, they don't. So like Neil Druckmann's not going to go back on what what they did. So because I guarantee, like, if he does that, he's going to be seen as like backpedaling for community backlash, and there's no way he wants to give in to that. So things are going to stick. They were where they were in their game, and even though I respect them for writing the story they wanted to write, and I did enjoy overall playing the game, I don't want to see that story unfold on fucking television.
Yeah, I just got past the one of the saddest parts in the game, so I'm a little on edge. That's why I had to stop playing for right now. And mostly because I wanted to get like 3 hours sleep before I had to do the show. So other than that, I've been playing nothing. I mean, I did pop the Division on just to try to finish up the global event, but I'm probably not going to finish that as it resets tomorrow, and I have to work tomorrow. So, yeah, that's it. That's all I've been playing. But I want to give you guys an update on the Extra Life challenge I have. So I currently have 1 platinum already done out of the 10. So, and I have 4 people who are donating $5 for every plat. And then I've also been challenged on 3 different games. And Alex, this is where I'm going to throw it to you to get your opinions on whether or not I should go for these or just submit now and donate the $10. So Dupes has challenged me to get the platinum in Final Fantasy VII Remake. Then he followed it up by saying get the platinum in the original Final Fantasy VII. And then, why am I forgetting his name? Zach challenged me to get the platinum in Arkham City from the Return to Arkham series. So I have 3 games that I have to plat that I've been challenged $10 with.
I got the platinum trophy for the original Arkham game, Asylum, but I didn't get it for City. The Predator challenges and the combat challenges just kind of not broke me. I just kind of was like, you know what? This isn't my favorite aspect of the game, so I've got enough of these trophies that I'll just move on. But as far as the Final Fantasy VII ones, I didn't necessarily know that those would be too difficult. So I've never known a Final Fantasy game to have a specifically difficult trophy. So, I mean, I feel like those are games you should try to go for. If nothing else, you get to play Arkham City again, and Arkham City would be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Apparently I don't have... Wait,
here's tricky. Here's the thing you can do. You can get your 10 platinum trophies to secure that for the year, and then after you get your 10, try maybe those games.
Well, I'm hoping, and see this, my thought process behind doing the $10 challenge is I have some games that I want to plat, but I figured if I can combine the two and have somebody get me, give me some trophy or some games to plat, that could work towards the 10 as well. So I'm hoping to combine the two. I mean, more plats are more plats. I mean, if I get the 10 and then I do these 3, I mean that's 13 plats for the year. But that's over in a plat a month. So I don't know if I really want to do that.
I figure you could handle that. I mean, you're not always going to be working at this breakneck pace because it's not always going to be winter.
No, but yeah, there's a right. I'm looking right now on the Arkham trophies. I only have 15 of the 51, so I only have 25% of the trophies so far. I don't think I beat it on the 4, so I might be able to do it. But I'm looking right now. There's a lot of the Predator trophies that I have to get.
Well, and don't forget that game does have quite a few of the Riddler trophies hanging about the city. So
yeah, and apparently I got to beat it twice because I have to beat it on New Game Plus. So that's gonna be a challenge.
Yeah, but I mean, the second time you could just run through and do the main storyline and forget about all the side shit.
True. Oh, no, because actually there's a trophy called Perfect Night Day 2. Complete every challenge in Arkham City, main story, side missions, upgrades, collectibles, New Game Plus, and Riddler's Revenge. And I have to do it as Batman.
Well, they don't want you to stop playing that game.
Apparently not.
Maybe you should go back and play that game instead of what Rocksteady's really doing now, which is Suicide Squad.
Yeah, I'm debating whether or not I want to pre-order that game or not.
I mean, there's no need to pre-order games anymore, Tricky.
True. I mean, unless you want the...
I mean, if you want to pre-buy it on like the PlayStation Network and have it downloaded for you, or you get early access, I can totally understand that. But like, don't be going to GameStop and pre-ordering shit.
Oh, no. Yeah, so I have to do that. And apparently the Platinum for Arkham City is a 9.83 rarity. It's a very rare plat.
Again, those combat and predator challenges coupled with the Riddler trophies, it's a lot to do.
Yep. All right. So that is all I've been playing. Let's get into our topics. How about that? So me and Alex are gonna bounce these topics back and forth because, as Alex said, we both were two different agendas. So there's some topics.
This is the Megazord of all podcast agendas. The combination of tricky with our powers combined. This is a mighty show.
So, coming from Destructoid and written by Zoe Hanley, Square Enix upcoming Foamstars contains some AI art. As reported by Video Games Chronicle, Square Enix confirmed at the recent press event that their upcoming live service game, Foamstars, uses some assets generated by AI. This follows a New Year's letter from the company's president that stated the company would more aggressively pursue at the use of the technology. Video Games Chronicle asked Foamstars producer about the AI who elaborated on the game's usage of it. According to him, most of the game was created by humans, but 0.01% or even less was generated by Midjourney. Specifically, I can't say that word. As Square later clarified to Video Games Chronicle, the assets were created by generative AI or in-game album covers for the game's music tracks. So I'll finish reading the article there. Alex, what are your thoughts on video game developers using AI for their video games and not humans?
Well, I believe that we had this story on a previous story from the Square Enix president talking about how they were going to use AI more aggressively. And I mean, this obviously just a small case, but it's them kind of dipping their toes in those waters. And, you know, there are potentially great things that can be done with AI. There are also potentially terrible things and just the opportunity for AI to run wild and just kind of ruin a lot. So it's really going to depend on how companies use the technology. You know, when making big games, if, you know, it allows companies to save money and, you know, maybe pay developers better or, you know, take a few more risks because they can use AI instead of paying somebody or, you know, having to fire a bunch of people because they staffed up. I mean, there's good and bad. You can use it as a money-saving technique, but also there is the danger that they could use this to replace people and the work of humans in the field. I mean, you probably can't get rid of everybody from a video game development team, but, you know, there's a lot you can probably generate with AI. So really, it's going to be up to the companies, these massive companies, to use it in the right way. And we'll see how that goes. But I definitely know that there are a lot of people ringing the alarm bells about AI. So we're just kind of have to tread carefully. And you know, I'm not going to sit here and fear Skynet yet, but we definitely need to analyze AI, how we use it, and just kind of map out really what we want to do instead of letting things run amok and then try to put out fires later afterwards.
Well, it's funny that you use the ringing the alarm bells because that's not the only alarm bell going on with this game. Because we also have a subtopic for this coming from IGN, written by Ryan Dinsdale. Square Enix developers tired of people comparing Foamstars to Splatoon. Reading from the article, the producer was asked by VGC if he was tired of comparisons between the two games, which he replied, quote, "First of all, yes. There have been many comparisons on the internet, but also we saw on social media that people who actually played it saw it's a completely different game, and I hope you also agree," end quote. Foamstars looks like a Splatoon on the surface, but as the two teams battle while covering their map in respective colors, Splatoon makes this the main focus, as whoever had the most territory covered wins the game, while Foamstars map is covered only for improved traversal. Quote, "I feel like the mechanic of having the things you shoot stay on the field is very unique." That was the end quote. He said, "It was a great honor if this became a genre of its own, akin to Souls-like or Metroidvania splatter, perhaps."
And those comments from the game creator, Foamstars producer Kosuke Okatani. I know you didn't want to tackle that name, Tricky, but
I did say producer. The person, I didn't say why I say his name though.
Yeah, Okatani is the one who.
I mean, does it look like Splatoon? Abso-fucking-lutely. But who knows? I mean, just because a game looks like another game doesn't mean it plays like that game. I mean, we had PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale that looked like, you know, Super Smash Brothers, but obviously All-Stars didn't play anywhere close to what Smash Brothers played like. Dead air. You with me, Alex?
Yes, sorry, I got kicked off there for a second.
No problem. I was just saying, like, just because a game looks like another game doesn't mean it's going to play like that game. Obviously, we had that comparison with PlayStation All-Stars that looked like Smash Brothers, but obviously Smash Brothers plays a lot better.
It's a lot more fun. Yeah, like Sony tried to change up the formula way too much. I mean, they tried to differentiate it, but at the same time, while there were very strong aspects of PlayStation All-Stars, the gameplay just wasn't nearly as fun. The mechanics didn't work as well. With this, I mean, Square Enix, they can say they're sick of hearing it, but they had to know when they put this out there that it was going to draw comparisons. They just had to know, and especially since people have only seen trailers and haven't gotten their hands on it outside of a very small group of people. So what did they expect, you know?
I don't know what they expected. And then we do have another.
But I mean, we'll all, if you have PlayStation Plus, we'll all have our chance to see how good it is because you know, if you have it, you get a chance risk free.
Yeah, I was about to go into that. We the second subtopic to this is that it is coming free for PlayStation Plus. This is written by Wesley Yinpool. Even though I said the name wrong last week, people were making fun of me on TikTok about it. Foamstars is launching February 6th as a month-long PlayStation exclusive across PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. Square Enix has announced the 4v4 Splatoon-like foam party shooter launches on PlayStation Plus on February 6th and will remain on the subscription service until March 4th, 2024. Then from March 5th, Foamstars will be sold from PlayStation, and you will need a PlayStation Plus subscription to play it. Yeah. So 3 PvP multiplayer game modes will be available at launch, including the Smash Star, Happy Bath Survival, and the newly revealed Rubber Duck Party. Alex, you're a fan of Rubber Ducks.
Haven't actually taken a.
You with me, Alex? See, this is what I was saying, listeners. Things go wrong. Be a nice edit, and then we lose Alex. I'm just vamping until Alex comes back. If he comes back. Alex. Anybody in the chat? Nobody's in the Twitch chat. Alex. Might have to take this out of the audio of the main show. If you listen to this on podcast services, you're probably not hearing me talk right now. So I probably edited all this out.
I'm here.
Hi.
So I'm telling everybody in the house to get off the internet.
Alex is back. So the last thing I said to you was that you like rubber ducks.
And I answered that I haven't actually taken a bath with a rubber duck in a very long time, but I guess they're harmless little creatures. They're kind of cute. You know, like they like to sell you all those little rubber duckies that are dressed up as monsters and creatures of fantasy and whatnot.
Yep. All right, so
I'm not against them.
Yeah. All right, so I mean, obviously we get to try it for free when PlayStation Plus launches. But
yeah, and you can form your, you know, I imagine everyone has their own opinions. I mean, even the IGN article said Splatoon-like, so everyone's making a comparison. But we will all have our chance to play it and risk-free, so there's really nothing to lose, you know, unless you get a trophy and then you're like, fuck, you're like me, I gotta get them all.
So, Alex, I know you don't already know the answer to this, but what's the one game that's had so much problems that you really don't expect them to have another delay?
Beyond Good and Evil 2?
That hasn't even been fully announced yet. Well, it's been announced. The release date hasn't hurt anything. No, Skull and Bones got another delay.
Oh, you're talking about the other Ubisoft joint.
Yes. Coming from IGN and written by Jordan Serrani, Skull and Bones got delayed again. This time it's only 2 weeks. Skull and Bones will now be released on February 16th. Those who purchased the preview edition or subscribe to Ubisoft Plus can play 3 days earlier on the 13th. It will be coming out for the 5, the Series, and the PC, and will cost $70 on consoles and $60 on PC. But yeah, Skull and Bones got delayed yet again.
Well, they never really set a release. It got delayed into this year, and they never really set a release date, so it didn't get delayed again. This is just them announcing formally.
No. It had a release date. The release date was February 2nd.
Oh, all right. Well, maybe now is finally its time to shine. And I think a lot of people still gave this game a chance. But
Guild played the beta. He said he liked it.
Honestly, there was I saw an image from the game, and it was like a giant monster jumping out of the sea. It looked like almost the what was it, the creature at the end of the DLC for the shark man-eater, the was it the Truth Quest, something like that. The monster at the end of the DLC, the Atomic Leviathan. It looks exactly like that creature, but yeah, it's I haven't played it yet. I don't necessarily know that I care to play it, but hopefully it finally comes out and people actually get to try it, because I feel so bad for that team, because those people have probably been working super hard on this game, and it just at any point maybe felt like, well, maybe probably going to get this, because we've had to delay it so much, maybe Ubisoft's finally going to cut us off and say, all right, no more, we're done. But hopefully the game is good. Hopefully it does come out on the 16th and people can enjoy it, because nobody wants to work on a game that gets canceled or just shits the bed. Well, Tricky, maybe we should mention that there is a special edition of the game. Just give the listeners the details of that. In addition to the standard version of Skull and Bones, Ubisoft is offering a premium edition for $90. The premium edition is detailed by Ubisoft, includes the following: the base game, 3 days early access, premium bonus pack, Bloody Bones Captain outfit, and Ashen Corsair ship set with 11 different ship vanity items, 2 extra missions, the Ashen Corsair and Blood Bones Legacy, 84-page digital art book, digital soundtrack, and the Smuggler Pass token unlocks a battle pass. So, well, yet another game with battle passes. But who didn't see that coming?
Any live service game is going to have battle passes now. All right, let's do some more Ubisoft news. Which originally I wanted to do as topic of the week, but Alex, you put it in the other topics.
Well, we just talked about Ubisoft and a game that they're releasing, their first AAA release of this year. So I think it goes hand in hand.
Yeah,
especially since they're selling us. We just talked about them selling us a $90 special edition.
Yeah, so I'm going back to the link that I used because the one you used was a little bloated. I couldn't find the actual quote, so I went back to mine. I can give you the link if you want to follow along, but I think you pretty much know the.
The original story was on gamesindustry.biz, and I think you probably got it from IGN or something like that. But the original story came from who is this? Christopher Dring of gamesindustry.biz. So we'll give him some credit there.
Yeah, I'm actually taking it from gfanityesports.com. And
that's right. I shared that link on the Facebook page, I believe.
Yeah, that's the one that I took. And it's written by Lewis White. I'm not going to read the article, but basically the headline is Ubisoft says you need to get comfortable not owning your own games. Just go down to here a little bit in the article.
Find the exact the quote so we don't take it out of context. Make sure there is actual context for the quote itself.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. This is there's a Rangers game about to start. I'm trying to find his actual name. Philippe Tremblay.
Who is the director of subscriptions at Ubisoft.
Yes. I was just waiting for the thing in front of me to stop telling me about the Ranger game about to happen. He says, quote, when you look at the different subscription services that are out there, we've had a rapid expansion over the last couple of years, but it's still relative small compared to other models. That's the other quote. He said the expansion of video game subscription services will happen when gamers become more comfortable with not owning their games, with movies and TV successfully moving to streaming. Tremblay believes gamers need to get with the times. Quote, one of the things we saw is that gamers are used to, a little bit like DVD, having and owning their games. That's the consumer shift that needs to happen. They got comfortable not owning their CD collection or DVD collection. That's a transformation that's been a little slower to happen in games. As gamers grow comfortable in that aspect, you don't lose your progress. If you resume your game at another time, your progress file is still there. That's not been deleted. You don't lose what you built in the game or your engagement with the game. So it's about feeling comfortable with not owning your game, end quote. And then he goes on and says more things. But basically he's implying that in order for subscription services to take off, us as gamers have to get comfortable not owning our games. Now, Alex, before I let you loose on the field on this topic, I want to point out something that I've said on the show many, many times, and a lot of people have the hard time, understanding. A lot of people feel, and I can understand why they feel that way, that they own their game. When they go to Best Buy or they get their game from Amazon or they get it from GameStop, you have the physical disc in your hand, they feel like they own the game. But the reality is, and always has been, you don't actually own the game. You're only purchasing a license to play that game, and that license can be revoked at any time.
Tricky, you want me to back up your point here with something? And they talked about music and Tremblay talked about music and movies and people gotten used to not owning those, because they subscribe to Spotify or they're, have Netflix or something like that. And part of the reason that it's been slower for video games is because video games, quite frankly, just cost more. They cost more money than buying they're twice as much as a movie, as a Blu-ray or 4K. And they're, much more than buying a CD or a song. It's like, what, $15 back in the day to buy a CD? So, but you think about, hey, I go buy a Switch game or a Nintendo 64 game or a PlayStation, 4 game, and or some whatever game system you want to talk about, and you're like, hey, I own this game. Well, the problem is you actually don't, because you have to have a specific device to play it on. If you buy an MP3, or it used to be I would buy DVD or music from Amazon because I would get MP3s that I could move to any computer, any device I wanted to. I own that music because I could move it anywhere. A DVD, a Blu-ray. You can play that on almost any device.
Correct.
I know technology is always updating, so maybe at some point, older DVDs and stuff like that, I don't know, maybe there'll be things in the future where only play Blu-rays. But for the most part, if you buy a movie, you can play it on many devices. Video games, you can only play them on one specific device, which is a form of DRM, whether you want to believe it or not. If they start, discontinue a console and you have a game for that console, you can't just go out. They're not going to, it's not like DVD players or Blu-ray players. They're not going to just make more of those. You can't buy that anymore unless you go to a secondhand store or an indie game shop, and then you have to find a used thing. So because DVDs and music of some degree, that aren't DRM riddled, you can take to multiple devices across multiple generations. Games just don't work that way. Your games are locked to a console you have to play it on, which is a form of, managing your ability to play that game. And also people will point out that nowadays, a lot of times the game disc itself will need to connect to the internet in order to download a file to your console in order for you to play that game. Or sometimes, content requires a digital key, which you need a internet connection for. So just because you own a physical item in your hand doesn't mean you own that thing, which, like I have a bunch of Nintendo cartridges that I have on my shelf. I would like to think that I own those games, but do I really? Because my Nintendo crapped out. It's one of the front loader ones where the pins get fucked up and misaligned, and I never was able to get one of the top loaders because they were super rare. But I don't have a device to play those NES games on. I would have to go buy one secondhand. They're not manufacturing new Nintendos, so that's an example of games that I have that I can't play anymore, even though I have the physical copy in my game case over there.
Well, I mean, to your point, I just want to point out, if the industry is going to go this way, that older games are going to be on some kind of subscription service.
But not all of them.
Well, follow me for a second here. If the industry is going to go to that kind of model where, Naughty Dog's going to have their own subscription service, Ubisoft's going to have their own subscription service, 2K is going to have their own subscription service. If we're going that route, then I feel like these people there has to be some obligation that our PS4 games or our PS5 games are going to be able to work on those, once we get to the PS7 point.
Well, I hate to tell you this, but I think that Sony's given up backwards compatibility.
Well, that was the next point I was going to make, is that there has to be some kind of responsibility, because if you generally want, like, the problem, as you pointed out, the problem is if I want to play an NES game, I have to have an NES, and they don't make them anymore, so I have to buy secondhand or what had.
Yeah, I mean there are knockoff third-party things that you can go out and find now that'll play your NES games. But the point is you can't transfer your play of a video game like you can watching a movie or listening to music. You can listen to music on any number of devices. The video games, you're very limited in what you can do.
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo, and I'm not trying to call them out. They've made it very successful that we can still play the original Mario Brothers because they've made 3DS versions of it. They made a Wii version of it. They made a Wii U version of it. They made a Switch version of it. And I'm sure they're going to make a Switch 2 version of it. They've sold us that game 6 or 7 times. And it's always been available in some form on the current systems. So if it's weird to me because I think if we go to a subscription service, companies like Nintendo are not going to be able to do that anymore. Or are they still going to do that and say, okay, well, we're just not going to put Mario Brothers on the service. Oh, you know what? It's Christmas. We'll put it on there for a month. You know, that's the problem is that if I don't physically have a way to play that game, a digital download or a physical copy of the game, and I want to go back and play the original Last of Us, but Naughty Dog decided they're going to take it off their subscription, that's going to suck because now there's no way I can play that game. So if we go to an all subscription service, that's going to suck.
I don't know that we'll go to an all subscription service at any point soon, but I mean, obviously Sony and Microsoft, I mean, the industry leaders are pushing towards not having discs anymore. They're pushing towards digital only,
and that's fine with me because
which I mean, but then like that, your consoles, you don't have a disc drive. I mean, they may charge you extra in the future to attach a disc drive, but I mean, you go to retail stores and you look at the sad selection of video games. The whole like consumer markets and the industry is pushing away from physical copies. So
I mean, we just saw a story recently where Best Buy is taking off Xbox games off their shelves. Now, why it's Xbox and not PlayStation and Switch as well, I don't know. I didn't read the article, but Best Buy is taking their games off their Xbox games off their shelves.
And someone can say to me, Alex, well, you can just go buy an NES off eBay. Here's the problem with that. They stopped manufacturing those consoles a long fucking time ago. And we're going to get to a point where most of these are not going to be playable anymore because they're going to be fucking broken because they're, 50, 60 years old? So you're not always going to be able to go online and buy a Genesis or buy an SNES. They're going to fucking die out because you cannot have probably not going to have a 100-year-old Genesis working. It's probably just going to be, at some point, you're not going to be able to find one. And we may be in our 80s or 70s or whatever. I don't know. But you can't always rely on old technology lasting forever.
And the point being is once we get to the point where we have less and less, they're going to start getting really expensive, and nobody's going to want to pay $500 for original NES.
Someone might, but not most people. Yeah. No, and most people couldn't afford it. But here's the thing with this article, and a lot of people got upset about this. I think most people realize that what was said in that interview is correct. It's right. The problem is that I
even said that in our chat. It's like, he's not wrong.
Well, I know, and I agree with you. The problem is he said it out loud. And people don't want to hear game companies. They don't want to know that game companies realize that. They also don't want to hear game companies say it out loud.
Right.
That's the thing.
All right, so you posted this in the Facebook group. And there were some people that have comments. I'm not going to read everything, but...
Well, you posted one. I posted one originally, and then you posted one later.
Yeah, well, mine was supposed to be a meme to yours, but Jeff Hanna says, I haven't owned an Ubisoft game in forever. This transition won't be that hard. You did reply to him, but I'm not going to read that. Mike Nelson said, well, with the direction of most games being hosted on a server, if they shut down the server, then your offline games truly becomes offline. True. And then you said, not too true, but I think it makes more people angry when when companies publicly acknowledge it, like hearing it in public forum makes it burn somehow. And Mike comes back and says, yeah, it's like we know Santa isn't real, but publicly saying this, like, what the fuck? And then George Smith says, oh, this was real? Damn, that sucks. I thought Reddit was memeing. That guy needs a swift kick to the nuts, maybe twice for good measure. Yeah, I mean, this sucks, but
Well, and
He's not
most people
wrong.
go, like, one of the quotes I've seen from people is that if buying isn't owning, then piracy is not stealing.
Well, that's the meme I posted.
Yeah, I mean, well, I've seen that all over the place now, and even after Sony removed the Discovery, that whole story that we talked about with Discovery shows being removed from the PlayStation Network, and you didn't have access to them anymore, even after you paid for them. You were part of that topic too, like that popped up a lot then as well. So,
All right, so I did post that meme, and some comments from that was from Harold says, Ubisoft doesn't want me to own my games, so I don't want to own their games. And then Will Schultz says, it's a lot less salacious when you read the whole quote. The thing is called context, and he's right. And then George Smith says, I think it's a dumbass thing to say. It's already how things are with digital games, but it's not something people want to be smacked in the face with. Terrence says, well, if that's Pandora's box this idiot exec wants to open, then let piracy be rampant. Personally, the guy is an idiot and out of touch. The whole idea of gaming, the very mechanic, is to play a game that you own or to pay access to an MMORPG or such. At some level, there is ownership and the ability to gain access to whatever you want through that ownership. Replayability, honestly, his comments are infuriating. Justin Cooper says, seems like another way to try and crush GameStop, but this is going to cause a physical copy renaissance. And Dan Tucker says, can't argue that logic.
Well, you can only cause a physical copy renaissance if there's physical copies to buy. I mean, yeah, there are indie game stores, independent game stores, locally in probably most of our markets, but they only have so much selection. It's not like there's every video game from every library available. And let's be honest, GameStop is withering away. Target really doesn't have a game selection anymore. Best Buy is pretty sad. And Walmart may carry some, but I mean, they just don't want, physical stores don't want to carry games anymore. So yes, maybe people more like want to safeguard their game collections in the future, but you have to be able to buy the games, and we are slowly seeing that market dwindle because everything's moving in the direction of streaming, like music and movies before it, and television as well. Yeah. And the idea that, I get that, back in the day, you could play on the Genesis and you could like trade games with friends and like friends borrow games, and like that gave a sense of ownership. But as you and I think agree, you never really owned any games, whether you owned a plastic piece of cartridge or not.
Yeah.
And it's just us realizing that now as we've gotten older, and like IP rights and all that kind of stuff, and actual like copyrights have come more clearly into the form. We didn't think about that kind of stuff as kids, but yeah, I contend that anyone who thinks you actually own your games is naive.
Well, see, we had this article a long time ago when Donnie was still on the show when I pointed this out, and he's like, no, I own my game. I'm like, no, you actually don't. Like, the publisher and the developer can restrict that access at any time they want. It would suck, and I think people would have an argument to say, listen, I paid $50, $60, $70 to play this game. How are you restricting the license? This conversation came to light when PT was taken off the service. It's like, how do you stop me from downloading a game that I've already that I own? And it was like, no, you don't own this. They own the license. They can restrict it at any time. The Crew is the servers. Getting back to Ubisoft, the game The Crew, their servers are going offline and they're delisting the game. You're not gonna be able to play the game anymore. The same thing that happened with the day before. Take away all the bullshit. They're delisting the game, and they're shutting off the servers. There's nothing you could do. There's no refunds. Obviously Steam's doing the refunds, but like, Fantastic doesn't have to give you a refund because they have no obligation to you.
Well, and look at it this way, like if I have an MP3 that I buy from Amazon that I can go back and download in the future if I want to, if for some reason it gets deleted from my computer or something, I can hopefully go back and re-download that. At least I could, I haven't tried it in a while, but I assume that I can re-download that from them at some point. With a physical copy of a game, people like to say, oh, there's ownership to that. Well, first of all, you have just a copy of the game, because if you break or lose that copy of the game, Tricky, what do you have to go do? Can you just call up and say, "Hey, I need another copy of
No.
Super Mario 64." What do you have to do?
You have to go buy it again.
Exactly. So at the very at most, you own a copy of a game. You don't own that game. And again, like you said, nowadays we see that, just beyond making you play on a specific console, publishers and developers can restrict access to a game whenever they want.
So I'll pose this question at you. Should somebody that buys a physical copy of the game, should they automatically get a digital version of the game?
Well, they do that with movies, I know, or at least some movies, but
I mean,
it's different because, again, like,
my answer would be no, because
you could sell somebody a code, or you could just give away the code.
Well, what I'm saying is, like, okay, Yield's not here to defend himself, and I'm not throwing him under the bus, but let's say Yield goes out and buys a physical copy of Skull and Bones. He brings it home, he's playing it, something happens to his disc, it gets cracked, it gets scratched up, it's unplayable. Now he would have to go back to the store and buy Skull and Bones again. I'm saying, I'm sorry for coughing. I'm saying when he puts that disc into his PlayStation 5, should he automatically unlock a digital version of the game? And my argument would be no, because what would happen, and because people are assholes and scumbags, is there would be people to go buy Skull and Bones, come home, get a digital copy of the game, and then return the game, and then now they have a free game.
Or they would sell it to one of their friends and make money off it, while there's another copy of the game that Ubisoft didn't sell.
Right, but see, like, even with the physical versions of The Last of Us Part 2, you have to put the disc in, and you're able to upgrade for the $10 to the PlayStation 5 version. But in order to play the PlayStation 5 version, the disc still has to be in the system. You still have to show that you still own physically that game. So there are ways that they can escape, but nowadays with systems being hacked and whatnot, that I'm sure that's pretty easy to get by and just trick the system into believing that the disc is in the system still. So
yeah, but not everybody can do that. So it's not like that's going to be running rampant.
Well, I mean, there are people that already hacked the PlayStation 5. I know the PlayStation Portable got hacked. I know people. The Portal got hacked. The only thing, the glorified stream machine got hacked. I mean, come on. So it is what it is. Just in the interest of time, let's move on here, though, Alex. Coming from IGN, Until Dawn film adaptation is in the works with Shazam director David F. Sandberg. Sony Pictures has confirmed to IGN that the movie adaptation of Until Dawn will be directed by the director who previously directed horror hits like Lights Out and Annabelle Creation, as well as the DC EU version of Shazam. THR first reported the news. It will be developed by Sony Pictures Screen Gems as well as PlayStation Productions. Quote, as our partnership with Sony Pictures continues to grow, we're thrilled to be working on our first movie with Screen Gems. Until Dawn is a fan favorite PlayStation game that we can't wait to bring to the big screen. Okay, so thank you.
Are you thanking me?
No, the thing in front of me is now cheering because the game's about to start. It's going to be clapping for a second. So I'll throw it to you as the cheering's going over. Do we really need a film version of this game?
I'll watch it. Do we need it? I mean, no. But do we need a lot of things? So, I mean, Sony has been pretty on the mark when it comes to, I mean, I haven't watched Gran Turismo or anything, but they've been pretty on the mark when it comes to translating their properties in the last, 3-4 years to either the television screen or to, I guess it's mostly to the television screen. Gran Turismo was a movie, to the movie screen and to the television screen. So, Until Dawn, very much, it's more, it's a game, yes, but it's really probably more fit for the movie screen than really anything. I mean, you could also make a television series out if you wanted to, but I mean, the reason people play that game was not because of the gameplay. The reason people played that game was to watch the story unfold. They wanted a good horror story, and Supermassive, delivered that. So it was one of the high points for the longest time of the PlayStation 4 library with even Shuhei Yoshida calling it out and saying, hey, this is a really good game. Resogun, all these other things. We got Until Dawn 2, or Until Dawn as well, not Until Dawn 2. But I think would translate really well to a movie. It's something good to watch during October, November, right around that spooky season when everyone's in the mood for something scary. Again, to your question, do we need it? No. Will it be nice to have if they do it right? Absolutely. I think it'd be really good. Hayden Panettiere was actually one of the mocap. She's a character in the game, so you could cast her right away.
I think if they do this movie.
Oh, and Rami Malek, he was also in there as well. So
yeah.
They actually have actors who are recognizable that you could just cast right away.
I think if they do this movie, they need to tell a different story. Don't tell the same story as the game. Tell another version of it.
Well, if they tell the same story, then you kind of know what's going to happen. But I'm sure they can still get you on some jump scares. But I get your point that a story has already unfolded in front of you, and you already know what happens. But you could also say the same for The Last of Us. We knew it was going to happen in season 1 of The Last of Us, yet we still watched.
You're getting a little staticky again. Somebody might be using the internet in your house.
Oh, how am I now?
Still staticky.
I don't know. We'll keep pressing forward and hope it goes. Hopefully the noise removal will take that out. But
nah, you're starting to sound a little robot-y, but that's fine. All right, so let's go on to our next story here. For the first time in, I think it's 20 years. Hold on. I gotta find out. Nope, over 20. Not 20 years. For the first time since 2008, in which Rock Band won the best-selling video game in the United States. This is the first time a non-Call of Duty or Rockstar game was the best-selling game of the year. Just going through the top 10 best-selling games of 2023. Number 10, EA Sports Football Club 24. Number 9, Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Number 8, Mortal Kombat 1. Number 7, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Number 6, Diablo 4. Number 5, Tears of the Kingdom. Number 4, Spider-Man 2. Number 3, Madden NFL 24. Number 2, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. And Alex, I know you already know the answer, but I'm going to let you say number 1.
Hogwarts Legacy.
That whole protesting didn't work out too well, did it?
Well, it would seem not. Tons of people were supposed to, boycott Pokemon Sword and Shield. For different reasons, but tons of people were supposed to boycott Pokemon Sword and Shield before they came out, and those games sold super well, like over 20 million copies. I forget if it was in total or it must have been in total between the two versions of the game, but yeah, still sold super well. So Call of Duty still got 2 games on the top 10, which is not necessarily surprising, but yeah, Hogwarts Legacy taking the number 1 spot in the U.S. People love Harry Potter, so despite J.K. Rowling and some of the shit she said, people still want to acknowledge that there are other people that work on this game. There were other people that worked on this game and wanted to help make it a success, and just really just kind of enjoy a fun Harry Potter game. So
Hogwarts Legacy actually sold an incredible 22 million copies. But there's one game on here, one game that's not on here that's surprising. Did you happen to notice which game I didn't say was in the top 10?
Well, I know you said Zelda. Was Grand Theft Auto not in the top 10?
It was not in the top 10, but that's not surprising.
I don't know. Have you seen how much it's sold over the years? It seems to be up there all the time. It's kind of surprising that Grand Theft Auto is not up there.
You know what? That's actually true. I take that back. I'll give you a clue. It was the game of the year this year.
Oh,
Baldur's Gate 3.
Oh, Baldur's Gate 3. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Critical reception means more than commercial success, I would believe. It Takes Two won Game of the Year one year, and I guarantee that probably wasn't the best-selling game of that year.
No, but you would figure it'd be in the top 10 at least.
I don't know. From a small developer, a really good game, but lesser known than a lot of the other highly marketed AAA games. It's itself not a AAA game. It's a brand new IP. Like I said, from a small studio, I wouldn't necessarily figure it'd be in the top 10. But you're certainly happy that it got a lot of love.
Another game that didn't hit the top 10, Starfield.
Well, no one's surprised about that. I mean, like, that game had a good reception coming out of the gate, but I've seen a lot of negativity surrounding that game, since then. Like, it's a bust vibe, but just like this game really isn't as great as it could have been or should have been.
Yeah, and I'm not cracking on Xbox here, but I mean the article does point out, it says interesting, Bethesda Starfield failed to crack the top 10. PC and Xbox Series S and X RPG launched day one on Game Pass, which may have dampened sales. So it is what it is at this point. Like I've said many times, and Daryl said many times, Game Pass is gonna hurt sales. And even though Microsoft says, they're still selling pretty well on their games, I don't see how that's possible. And when you have a game of Starfield's popularity, you would think that would still crack the top 10 at least.
Well, I mean, Larian Studios came out and said that, hey, we don't want to put this on subscription services. We feel like we should get paid for the work we did. So, there's at least one, big time game and one developer who is not down with the subscription services. So, but I mean, access to PC, two different markets, PC and Xbox. I mean, a little surprising, but who knows? Maybe globally it'd be a top 10 selling game. I mean, like I said, the US has 2 Call of Duties on there, so
yeah.
Spider-Man was also on there. Spider-Man actually beat out Tears of the Kingdom for sales in the US.
It did.
I don't know. Sometimes video game sales are an odd bug, but it just, there was a lot of competition this year, and as far as within this country, Starfield, I guess, just didn't entice enough people, or well, also, you talked about video game sales, but like, again, that doesn't take into account the people who played it on Xbox Game Pass. People aren't some people might, but I'll never get down with that argument until I see hard data that people play it on Xbox Game Pass and then go buy it. That may happen for some games, that may happen for some people, but to make an appreciable difference in the sales of a game, no, that doesn't happen. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
If I get a game I like Evil West a lot, but I'm not going to go buy Evil West actually, as long as I have a PlayStation Plus subscription, I can't buy it because it's been added to my library since I downloaded it for free for Plus. So unless I get rid of Plus, I can't even go out and buy that game. Can you? I don't think you can.
Well, Evil West, was it a game that we got for free, or is it one of the premium packages?
It's game we got for free for Essential.
No, then until you get rid of PlayStation Plus, you can't even buy that game.
Yeah. Tricky, how's my audio? I gotta know.
It's a lot better.
Okay, good.
All right. So, Alex, I'm gonna skip the next 2 articles. Mostly because I want mostly because I want Matt here to talk about these
off.
Things.
All right, that's fine.
So at this point, we are going to go to Facebook and answer our only listener question.
Time to check my social media, yeah.
Tricky, it's not the only question. It's just the most important question of the week.
Fair point. Sorry. V, even though she's on her cruise, decided to ask a question, and she says, since the Grinellis are in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, how are you guys holding up? Alex, I'll let you go first.
Oh, well, they say absence makes the heart grow fonder, and I'm telling you, I'm really feeling it this week. I mean, like we said, the Grinellis deserve a vacation, but man, I'm looking at my watch here. When can we get them back? I'm shaking. I'm feeling it.
They're not coming back for a week and a half.
Well, fiddlesticks. You know what? They'll be back. Yeah.
Did you really just say fiddlesticks?
You've never heard that before?
I have.
I just wanted to say something innocuous and weird and
all right. So
somewhat cliche.
I'm gonna, just because it's literally the post underneath this. I'm gonna have a little debate with you, Alex, here.
About whether or not Matt and V should deserve a vacation?
No, Matt and V deserve a vacation. I know you saw it because you made the comment, and your actual comment was, Tricky will find any reason to complain about food based outside of New York, even if no one asked him to eat it.
Exactly. Yes. No one's asking you to eat peanut butter on your waffles or pancakes, but damned if you don't go ask every single person you can for, some weird reason.
No, that's weird.
It may be weird to you, Tricky, but it's not weird to other people.
All right. This I found weird. But
by the way, our friends from across the pond bit back hard at you for this. They bitch slapped you into another dimension for this.
They did, but I think I have a valid point on this, okay?
I don't agree with you. I think that they have a valid point. Because again, at the end of the day, regardless of how weird you find another region's food or another state's food, you don't. I mean, it's your argument with like paid DLC, like the Mortal Kombat, seasonal finishers. You don't got to eat it. You don't got to buy them.
No, but okay. So I have to explain this to anybody that's not in our Facebook group that sees this. I posted a picture that says, only in Britain is it acceptable to put icing and sprinkles on a hot dog bun and call it a cake. So the picture is literally a hot dog bun with some frosting and rainbow sprinkles on top of it. Now, from the picture, and this was my issue with this, from the picture, it does not look like the hot dog bun is cooked in any way, shape, or form. It's not baked. It's not fried. It's not nothing. I called this an uncooked donut because that's what it is. It's an uncooked donut. Now, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying like people shouldn't eat it. Well, but to
first
me,
of all,
I think
the assertion that it's uncooked is unfair because you have to bake that hot dog bun. So it's actually a baked hot dog bun. It's actually is cooked. Just not deep fried and glazed like you are used to.
You know what I mean now. Stop.
Yeah, but they have to bake it.
Stop trying to split hairs with me. It's a hot dog bun. Okay? I'm not even talking about the process to make it a hot dog bun. I'm talking about the fact that it's literally bread at this point, and they're throwing icings and sprinkles on top of it. I get it. And I'm not saying it's bad.
They're more health conscious. They're trying to cut down on the calories.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying, to me, you at least have to deep fry or bake it. Somebody said this is basically a cinnamon roll. I don't see that at all. I see this as an uncooked donut that they put icing and frosting on.
Yeah, but so you want them to bake the hot dog bun for a second time?
Deep fry it, do something.
You want to crisp it? So basically, you just want to make it more unhealthy than it is to eat just frosted bread. Is it really fair to have this conversation without having one of our friends from the UK on and ask them?
It absolutely is, because I'm not criticizing.
You absolutely are. I'm
not criticizing their choice. I am criticizing their choice, but I'm criticizing the fact that it's not deep fried or baked. That's where it's throwing weird for me.
What can I tell you, Tricky? They do things differently over there, and I mean, I can't remember who it was in that chat that pointed out that how if it were American style, it'd have like a bunch more sugar, which is correct.
The actual comment was George Smith. The actual comment was George Smith said if they use the American recipe for buns, there'd be more than enough sugar in it already.
Yes, correct. Which I don't think anyone from America is going to argue over. But
one of the funniest comments when this comes from Dupes is, I can't hear any American slate the iced bun when you guys eat cheese from a Scrody can.
Well, I'll have you tell this. Dupes, I will let you know that I do not eat cheese from a Squirty can. I will, however, dump shredded cheese into my mouth at 12 o'clock at night in the kitchen. I will do that, but I don't eat squirty cheese. No, thank you.
And then Ashley says, to be frank, squeezed cheese on a Ritz crackers is a delicacy. And Dupes replies, I can't fathom cheese in a can.
We don't let her fool you. We enjoy slices of cheese with our crackers. We like a nice charcuterie board. But no, there was someone. Dupes had a really funny comment about this, and I don't want to spoil the punchline, but it was basically he wasn't going to take your advice because, or he wasn't going to, take you seriously because, you know what I'm talking about.
No. I'm going through the comments now. Did I miss something?
I'm pretty sure it was Dupes, but.
He said he's not taking food advice from a guy who nearly died to a nugget.
Yeah, that's the one. That was a pretty good line. That had me in stitches.
I mean, I replied by, that's fair. And then Joe Priestley says, it's the same as a cinnamon bun, you uncultured swine. I don't see how this is like a cinnamon bun.
I mean, I guess a cinnamon bun is at first baked and then they put the toppings on it. They put the ice afterwards. I mean, that's how I would assume most people bake or eat cinnamon buns. You bake it and then you apply the frosting. But like the cinnamon and sugar and stuff is already also mixed in there, so it's not quite the same as adding, coating a hot dog bun. There's a little bit more to it.
All right, let's move on.
Maybe Joe can expound upon that.
Well, I don't think Joe's doing anything because his Buccaneers lost to the Lions today.
I saw him make a post where he seemed proud of the team. They did well this season. Yeah. So,
all right. So before we go into our topic of the week, I do want to do.
Also, it doesn't really matter because the Ravens are just going to win the Super Bowl this year, so who cares?
Oh, so you know the NFL script that's going around, huh?
The what?
The NFL script. There's been a lot of jokes on social media that the Super Bowl is going to come down to the Ravens and the Niners.
Well, and if you watched, the Ravens and the Niners from the regular season, you know that Brock Purdy, the quarterback of the Niners, had 4 turnovers against the Ravens, and the Ravens beat the Niners on, was a Monday night game? I don't know. It was some game in the regular season, and the Ravens won. And Lamar Jackson's just on fire at this point. Lamar Jackson, I will say, from the University of Louisville here in Kentucky. But yeah, Lamar Jackson, the Raven, is on fire. The defense is playing really well. So I don't think there's any hope that anyone's going to beat the Ravens. They're just going to club everybody to death.
I'll just finish this off by saying, how about them Cowboys?
And who do you have to thank for that?
Green Bay.
Yeah, and Aaron Jones and his 3 touchdowns.
All right, so before we go into our topic of the week, I forgot to do this at the beginning of the show, but well, I'm not going to ask you. Today is I was going to say special day, but I don't want to say special day considered the topic. As you guys know, my heart goes out to Extra Life. Like it's a very near and dear to my heart. So it's worth remembering that Victoria Emmon, who Extra Life was started for and founded because of, today, as of recording, marks the 16th anniversary of her death. So I wanted to give a special remembrance to Victoria on this day. 16 years ago, a charity was born in her name, and I think they said we've raised. Hold on, it's in a post.
I'll vamp. I'll just everyone who's watched Extra Life grow up from the small seeds that Doc, Mr. Jeremy Adams, watered. It makes you feel old to hear that she passed so many years ago and that Extra Life was born so many years ago, because I was there. I was there towards the beginnings of that, and I have watched it grow from what it was to what it is now. And it's just insane to think 16 years have gone by.
And in those 16 years, we've raised $130 million for the hospitals. That's insane as well. But yeah, I wanted to take
That's a lot of elbow grease and thumbstick work being put in there.
Yep. All right, so Alex, let's go to our topic of the week. And I'm going to throw it to you on this because you have a lot of notes here, and quite frankly, I don't feel like reading through them all. So I'm going to throw the topic of the week to you.
Yeah, this is the one topic where we actually wrote out notes. We miss you, Matt. Please come back. So this was from Video Games Chronicle. They had an interview with the Last of Us 2 Remastered director. And let me see if I can find. The headline is Reads interview, The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered's director explains why the PS5 upgrade is worth it. And this was posted and written by Jordan Midler. And the interview was done with, again, as we said, the director of the remastered version, Matthew Gallant. So Jordan Midler asked, many players have said it's too soon for for a remaster of The Last of Us Part 2. What improvements would you say make this version worth upgrading to? And, oh, goddamn you, Google Docs. And Mr. Gallant said, the leap between The Last of Us 2 and The Last of Us 2 Remastered is really closer to that of The Last of Us 2013 to The Last of Us Remastered that we released on PS4. We released The Last of Us 1 at the end of the PS3 lifecycle, so it was kind of a similar endeavor in terms of releasing The Last of Us Part 2 at the end of the PS4 lifecycle. We got every ounce of power out of the PS4. We hit all the limits. So we bring it to PS5, and instantly you can increase in the render and settings and increase the level of detail and the lighting quality. We can basically enhance everything. I think stuff can be subtle, but it's certainly going to be the best and most beautiful version of the game that is possible to play. That's more of a holistic view rather than something you're going to call out moment to moment. For me, I'm a haptics nerd. I really love the DualSense controller. I really love the haptics, and for the context, we on the design team were the ones authoring the Rumble on our previous games. Rumble's a great tool, but it's very broad. It's a blunt instrument. It's an engine, essentially. You can choose how fast it spins, but that's pretty much it. There was a lot of finessing to it, trying to sync up action on the screen with the Rumble. Haptics are instantaneous. They can be very subtle, and they can be very small, like when you're petting the dog in Jackson. You'll obviously notice that there are explosions and gunfights, but we always wanted you to notice the rain in Seattle. Another change I'll call out is that we were able to bring over a lot of the accessibility improvements we made for The Last of Us Part 1 into this. The biggest one was the cinematic descriptions. So we now have those auto-described cinematics that we didn't have in the original game. So now players who are blind or players with low vision can have the story context of what's going on in the cinematic with those audio descriptions. And then this also goes back to Jordan asking another question. Before we concluded our conversation, we asked Matthew why he thought the remasters like The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered can often be met with backlash from players when similar re-releases and reprints in the world of film are rarely met with the same skepticism from players. I don't understand some of the consternation about, and this is Matthew Gallant, I don't understand some of the consternation about what The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered offers. It's the best way to play The Last of Us Part 2 if you're a new PlayStation owner and new to the franchise. We want to get you the best experience with all the hardware features on a PS5 native version of the game. But since there's an audience for this for whom the idea of a PlayStation 5 version is thrilling, I'm also speaking for myself. I'm excited we can bring this to the fans, and if it's not for everyone, that's fine, end quote. So the movie comparison, I will quickly shoot down because when some studio makes a remaster or a remake, that takes resources, that takes effort, and that takes money, and it takes away resources from making another game. When you re-release a movie, there may be some people, I mean, there's obviously people working on it, but you're not reshooting the movie. You're adding details. So it's not taking an entire studio of people to do that.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to cut you off right there. Because when he said that, I didn't take it that way. What I took it as is take like Casino Royale. From the James Bond series. They had a Casino Royale, back in the 70s or 60s, I'm not sure. And then they remade it with Daniel Craig. That was an entirely same story, but they reshot it with different actors and stuff like that. That's what I took it as. He's not saying re-release a movie. He's talking about reshooting or recreating the movie. That's what
that doesn't happen. I mean, that's one example. That doesn't happen that often. And also, the James Bond movie you referenced was, 40 years before the Daniel Craig version came out? And we're talking about The Last of Us Part 2, which came out in 2020. There's a much bigger variance there as far as the years go. And also, people don't necessarily have as much of an issue with movies are cheaper. So that's another thing. It's like a re-release, okay, a movie is not as big of a monetary commitment as a video game. But again, this took Naughty Dog's resources. Between this and the canceled multiplayer game, the Factions game, that takes away resources that Naughty Dog cannot devote to making a Last of Us Part 3 or, who knows, a new game. So that's a big difference there, is that I feel, and why I've gotten increasingly angry about this is because I have to wonder if Sony saw before they had to cancel the game, if a couple years ago they saw, okay, Factions, it's taken us a long time to do this. Naughty Dog is one of our gem studios. We need to get something out. And they said, hey, you know what? Do a remaster of The Last of Us Part 2. Hey, we did the one on the 4 for The Last of Us, the original remaster. Do one for Part 2, and we'll make some money off of that. We'll get something out from Naughty Dog. It'll be a game we can say is exclusive, even if it's a remaster. We need to get something out from Naughty Dog. We can't have Naughty Dog just go dark for 5 years. So I have to wonder if part of that was the motivation. Now, also,
let me cut you over. I think this remaster has been planned since the launch of the original one, because it's like they said. Hold on, it's like they said they released The Last of Us at the end of the PS3 cycle, and it came out for the 4. They released this one at the end of the 4 cycle. I think this was always the plan.
And you could be right, because again, once you got to the 4, you did have the remaster of The Last of Us Part 1. But part of the reason why I'm so annoyed by this entire situation, and on Facebook on Friday, when on part of the thread, I was genuinely annoyed when I was making those comments, because I feel like ever since the release of The Last of Us Part 2, Naughty Dog has been so mismanaged. By now, we could have gotten a brand new game for them. They've had almost four years, certainly a full 3 solid years. They could have made The Last of Us Part 3, if that's what Neil Druckmann and team want to do. Or they could have just made a brand new game. But instead, we've gotten a remake of The Last of Us Part 1. We've gotten a remaster of The Last of Us Part 2 and a canceled multiplayer game that no one will ever play. Just wasted resources. Now, Sony's going to make money off the remaster and the remake, but in all that time, you take a crown jewel studio, your best studio, and arguably one of the best studios in all of gaming, and that's what we got in the last 4 years from them? Are you serious? I just feel like it's complete mismanagement of their best team.
I disagree with you, but you do have some valid points.
Well, you disagree because you love The Last of Us.
Well, taking my bias aside, I mean, I obviously I'm a little biased. I can't deny that. But as I pointed out, there was a 4-year gap between the original version and now this version. The Last of Us Part 1, I forgot to look this up. Hold on. The Last of Us game releases. So the original Last of Us came out in 2013. Then we got the remastered a year later. But that was no, that can't be right.
Well, it was in somewhat close proximity, and I think people were willing to accept that because it was on a brand new system, but there wasn't a lot of history of Sony doing that, just plucking out a remaster. Now that Sony's doing it a lot more often, it's catching more people and catching, a lot more attention, and in a very negative way. Well, there's rumors that they're going to remaster Horizon, not Forbidden West, but Horizon Zero Dawn. And it's just like, there's a right way to do remasters and remakes. Well, by the way, it's called a remake. Build it from the ground up and do a game like Silent Hill that hasn't been released in a long time. But Sony is doing this too often. Where the first time I think they could get away with it, now that it's happening more and more, and you're taking away resources from them being able to do other projects, because let's be real, it took time for people to do this, to add in the new features. And so I want a new game from Naughty Dog. I do not want a remaster of a game I played going on 4 years ago.
All right, so little context here. The Last of Us Part 1 for the PS3 came out in 2013. The remaster did come out in 2014 for the 4. The next game that they made after that was Uncharted 4, which released in 2016. The next game after that was The Last of Us Part 2, which was in 2020. And this is a remaster of that game, which is now coming out 4 years later. So they haven't released a brand new game since 2020. And before that, it took 4 years to develop. So you may have a point in the fact that they could have had a brand new game out already.
Well, and also, here's the thing. Naughty Dog was like Insomniac and Sucker Punch, and at every single PlayStation generation, there was a brand new game, a new IP they had to show off. You know, Jak and Daxter, or Crash Bandicoot, which isn't Sony owned, but you know they had Crash Bandicoot as an exclusive on the PlayStation. Jak and Daxter, the PS2, PS3, you had Uncharted, and then later on The Last of Us. That has been completely killed. They didn't have anything new on the 4. And now on the 5, you got to question whether they're going to have anything new. They might. They're working on stuff, but is it going to be a new franchise? So this could potentially be the second generation in a row where they've broken that cycle where they're not putting out a new IP. And part of it's because they've been stuck on The Last of Us. Look, The Last of Us is a great game series, but either finish it out or come up with something new because I don't want to keep playing these same games anymore. You know, it's like the comments from Gallant are like, you know, it may not be for you and that's fine. Dude, we bought an expensive video game console and now we don't really know what Sony has for us in store. We know Wolverine's coming out. We don't know when. We know Helldivers is coming out this year. That's an exclusive to PCs and to Sony. It's not going to be on Xbox. It's not going to be on Switch. But you're treating this a remastered game we played 4 years ago as a new game. Last year we got a DLC for Horizon and Spider-Man, and because of some of the piss poor decisions of Sony, the road of what we're getting for as far as releases is very foggy. So if you say I don't understand why the consternation, because we bought an expensive video game console and there's not a lot to fucking play on it from Sony. To make that clear, Mr. Gallant, if you ever fucking listen to the show.
All right, so the fuck? I just Googled.
Right, Tricky, you're finally on my side.
I just Googled Sony exclusive games for 2024, and they got Senua Saga up here. So,
oh, definitely not that.
So Sony exclusive games that we know that are coming: Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Helldivers 2, Rise of the Ronin, Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, Silent Hill 2, and Lost Soul Aside. That's all we know.
Let me make a point to you, Tricky.
Dead.
How many of those games are Sony?
None.
None.
Well, Helldivers 2 is. Aren't they
No, the company that does that is not owned by Sony.
Are they not?
I forget who it is, but they are not part of Sony.
They are made by Arrowhead Game Studios.
Yeah, not Sony.
Yeah, okay. I didn't really think about it, but that's accurate.
So I mean, yes, The Last of Us Part 2 remastered, unless Wolverine comes out this year, because we know we're not going to get Ghost of Tsushima 2 this year. We're not going to get anything from Guerrilla this year.
We're not getting anything from Santa Monica Studios either.
So unless someone like Housemarque comes out with something, that could be the only PlayStation game they put out this year. You would hope they have something for the holidays, but they could always release Spider-Man DLC for the holidays and call it, you know, be like, oh, there's a game, you know, because they treated for the Burning Shores, the Horizon DLC as a game, or at least they try to market it that way. But a year where the only thing Sony puts out for PlayStation owners is The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, which many of us played fucking 4 years ago. That's why I'm annoyed, Tricky.
I get your annoyance. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just trying to look to see if there's anything that we're not mentioning in here. I mean, we got that.
No, I mean, go. There's more to the I read quite a bit, but there's more to the interview than that. They talk about some of the new features and stuff. So go to Video Games Chronicle and read the interview. There's more to it, but I mean, really, that's the kind of crux of everything. Is I know that this guy, Mr. Gallant, is going to go out there and he's not going to bash Sony or say like, yeah, this is kind of a, you know, you've already played this, but hey, buy it again. Like, he directed this, he put effort into it, his team put effort to it, so he's going to sell it the best way he can. But at the end of the day, we've played this game recently. You know, like, again, we could have played a brand new game from Naughty Dog at this point. But because of Sony's decisions, we're stuck with remakes, remasters, and a canceled game. So what do we... And again, it's not like Naughty Dog is going to make 18 games a year, but what is Sony doing for video games for their console? They're basically pimping out exclusives that are made by other companies. That's what they've gotten to. So we really can't make fun of Xbox anymore because Sony's in the same spot. They're not putting out shit for their own console.
Do you think Sony's gotten just too arrogant again, like they did the PS3 games, thinking, "Oh well, we're king shit. We'll get by."
No, I think a lot of it has to do with the size of the games Sony makes. I mean, Ghost of Tsushima, Horizon, all these games, they take a long time to develop. God of War, so I'm sure that has something to do with it. That these teams are building these gigantic games that take a long fucking time to create. But also, we've read articles where they bet on 12 live service games that 6 have been delayed.
And 6.
And
I thought 6 were canceled.
I thought it was delayed.
It might have been delayed. I thought it was.
I think
they were canceled.
There was wording in a GameSpot article headline that said canceled, but when you read further, they were delayed. But at the very least, like pushing that many games back and betting on live service in that way has most definitely affected what the studios can do and how many games they can put out.
Yeah, you're right. All right, Alex, I'm gonna land this ship.
Well, hopefully this isn't like Top Gun and you try to land on the aircraft carrier and sail the fuck over the side, because that shit wasn't easy.
I'm just requesting a flyby, Ghost Rider. Oh,
Do what you got to do, Tricky.
Your quote goes, and you just leave mine hanging. Alex, your shout out.
Tricky, how am I supposed to follow that?
I don't know. I'm half asleep. Leave me alone. Alex,
I wasn't. You were the one giving me shit. I wasn't giving you shit. I was just asking you a question.
I know. Just do your shout outs.
All right, we need 2 aircraft carriers to land this son of a bitch. I want to give a shout out to our community, our awesome community, the fuel to the fire of this trip of yours. Thank you all again for joining us here in 2024. I don't care if you listen for 5 years or longer, or if you're just joining the show this week. We appreciate you. You're the main reason why we do this show. Without our community, we have nothing. So thank you all very much for continuing to support us. I want to give a shout out to Tricky as well as to Yield and to Matt. Yield, hopefully you get your internet figured out, because we all know how much not having internet sucks. Matt and V, I hope you're enjoying your all's cruise. And Tricky, I want to thank you for coming on here, because without you coming on, depriving yourself of sleep even further, it'd be one hell of a boring show with me just kind of sucking wind and trying to motor mouth for, an hour and a half. So thanks for showing up. And then, I give a shout out to Flying Wild Hog, the developers of Evil West. Great game. Glad I finally got to play it. And like I said, I would encourage anyone, who enjoys that style, fighting monsters, shooter, brawler, something maybe a little bit more full-bodied than Order 1886. Definitely give it a try. Last but not least, I want to give a shout out to my awesome and loving girlfriend, Ashley. I love you, hun. And yeah, that's it for me this week. Tricky, who you want to shout out to?
Shout out to
First, start off with your landlord.
No, fuck that guy. He's never going to listen to this, so I don't care. Shout out to the snow.
As long as he gets the checks, I don't think he gives a shit what you say about him on your podcast. Especially since you're not identifying your landlord by name.
No. Shout out to the snow that's made me a lot of money this week, but lost me a lot of sleep.
No. Snow. It can snow on Christmas and Christmas Eve. Every other time of the year, fuck snow.
Listen, in our industry, we call snow white gold because it brings so much money. This week alone, and I'm not bragging, I've made...
Oh, it's a humble brag, everybody.
I've made 20 hours of overtime, 12 hours of double time, and 12 hours of time and a half.
Yeah, but see, Tricky, you're forgetting what's the most important resource we have. It's time. Not money. It's time. Because you can make more money. Can't make more time.
Yeah, I've actually been using the time at work, my downtime, which hasn't been that much. But my downtime at work, I've been reading the Division books. And damn, they're interesting.
Well, I guess that depends on the audience, but I understand why you would be down with those, Tricky.
Yeah, well, I'm on the third book right now. It's called Hunted, which is tying into a lot of what's happening into the game. Where the first two books, they were telling their own story, but the third book is starting to lock into some story points in the game right now. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, shout out to the goddess. Shout out to Sweet Mama D. Shout out to you, Alex, for being here and dealing with my crankiness, and whatnot, because I'm really tired. And I actually just turned on my PlayStation like I was going to play a game, but as soon as I hang this up, I'm going back to bed. So, that's that. Shout out to the listeners. Shout out to Octoman5000, who popped into the chat and said, yo, I didn't see it until just now. So, thank you, Octoman5000.
Please come back.
I know who you are, but I'm not exactly sure I know your real name. I think his real name's Andre. I hope I'm right.
I'm going to say this. If I was in that situation where I popped into a chat regularly and you knew who I was, and I would leave you hanging. Be like, I'm this man of mystery. You'll never know who I am, but I'll be this username that's in here.
I'm only saying that just because I'm half asleep and I'm trying to remember. I believe it's Andre. And I hope you don't mind me using your government name.
How can you be half asleep, Tricky?
Because, Alex, I've gotten, no exaggeration, I've probably gotten 10 hours sleep in the last 3 days.
Oh, I mean, I believe that you're tired as can be, but I just don't know how you're half asleep. I don't understand the phrasing. I know it's like a term, that people use, but I've never understood it.
Let me put it this way.
It's like someone saying wake up dead. How do you wake up dead? You're not waking up at all.
Let me just put it this way. If I put my head back in my chair right now and close my eyes, I'd be asleep in 5 seconds.
Do you have a blanket near you? You can just put a blanket on yourself and just go to sleep.
Well, that would make for a good podcast. But I do.
Well, I'm talking about after the podcast. Just don't fall asleep on Twitch and then pick your nose while you're asleep or do some weird shit or make some weird noises.
Why would I pick my nose on Twitch?
I'm sure somebody's fucking done it inadvertently.
I'm sure somebody has. But I do want,
especially in the winter when you got all the mucus and the snot and you got the bugs hanging. I'm sure it happens to even the best of us.
I want to give a special shout out to my niece. Today is her 18th birthday. I'm not going to say her name because I'm not going to do that, but yeah.
Yes, your niece will suffice.
Yes. 18 years old. Wow.
Man, that was like half a lifetime ago for me.
We're getting old, Alex.
We've been old, Tricky.
I got a 15-year-old daughter. That's insane to me.
It's insane to all of us, and Extra Life is 1 year older than. Can you imagine? Extra Life was actually around before your daughter. Could you remember the time when Extra Life was a thing and your daughter was not?
Actually, my daughter was born 1 month before.
In a van down by the river.
1 month before the first Extra Life. So they're both turning 16 this year.
So she's an Extra Life baby.
Well, yeah. But that's it. Thank you for everybody for listening. And until next week, happy trophy hunting.
Permission granted by the band and 12 Stone Records. You can find them on Facebook by going to www.facebook.com/evenphilippines.